Hey, this is Editing Albie. I have to make a correction and I'm going to put it in the front of the video, but I misspoke about one book and that was The Lady Gets Lucky. I called that the title instead of A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. So even if I'm saying The Lady Gets Lucky, I mean A Lady for a Duke. So yeah, very sorry because A Lady Gets Lucky by Joanna Shoup is one of my favorite books. You'll see it in tomorrow's video, but A Lady for a Duke didn't vibe with it. So that's what I mean and I'll put the corrections in. Thank you.
Hey everyone, it's Albie. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is probably one of the most requested I get, and that is the books I did not enjoy or the worst reads of 2022. So I didn't have that many that I didn't necessarily enjoy. I read 76 books this year, which was really good for me. It's probably the highest I've read since like childhood. So I'm really proud of that. And I did not DNF. I'm not one where I'm like, oh, I'm against DNFing, but I was a double major in English literature and music with specialty in opera. So I'm like super trained to be really, really disciplined. So I don't mind reading a book even if I don't enjoy it. I feel like it's a good discipline for my mind and to just pursue stuff. So I keep on doing it because, you know, when you're really busy with school and like being an English major, you have to read a lot of stuff that you may not enjoy, but you have to get through it and you have to write a paper, etc. So I've just sort of kept up that mentality. And so I don't DNF, I just don't enjoy some stuff. But I do have 5 books that did not melt my butter this year. So I'm going to go off with starting with 5, and then number 1 will be the worst that I've read. So number 4 and 5 are both ones that, honestly, I can't tell you too much about them because they just did not spark joy or emotion. So number 5, so the 5th worst book I read this year, was A Whisper of Roses by Teresa Meridos. It was part of the Historical High-Ends Book Club pick. All of these books are, I think, one is like a 3-star, but there's one that is a 0. If I could give it a 0-star, I would. So Whisper of Roses had Sabrina, I just remember her name, and she had the Highlander romance. It was enemies to lovers. It was just so complicated. It was one of those stories that was just so long and drug out and had so many different little niches that happened. I just did not have fun. It was not for me. So Whisper of Roses, I did not like it. The 4th worst book that I read this year was Ransom by Julie Garwood. It was also a historical Hellions pick. It was actually one that I was on the chat for. So I was really honored to be chosen by Jessica and Samantha to be on the like the video on YouTube, their live sort of book club chat with Justin. And I gave it 2 stars, and I hated this book. It was the only book I read in the month of July, and I hated it. I did not like that book. It was so bad that I was on such a reading break. I literally only read that one book in July, and I didn't read a lot in August. It wasn't until like the end of September that I really picked up my reading again because that book was just so, I just did not enjoy it. So I have read Julie Garwood before. I'm really more familiar with her contemporary works. She's really well known now for writing sort of spy or adventure romance novels, and I have really enjoyed those. I think I've given those like 4, maybe 5 stars. I can't really remember the titles. I think one was called Hot Shot, I believe. But I do enjoy those books, but that book I did not enjoy. The 3rd worst book. Now I'm saying worst just because that's, you know, the title and stuff. These aren't bad books. I just did not like them, you know. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'm not trying to hurt an author's feelings. I'm not trying to hurt your favorite book or etc. These are just books that I didn't enjoy. So the 3rd one that I did not enjoy or was the worst was Escaping Wonderland by Tiffany Roberts. This was a fantasy romance, and it was Alice in Wonderland inspired. I believe the hero, I thought he was the Mad Hatter. That's how he was projected on the cover, but really he was more so like a humanoid Cheshire cat. And I'm not really into the whole humanoid thing. It depends. I really did enjoy Muscles and Monsters by Ashley Bennett, and I really did enjoy The Dragon's Bride by Katie Robert, but Escaping Wonderland, it hit different. And it was one of those where it was dystopian, and I don't think her name was Alice, but the heroine, she was like in this suspended mind disbelief, sort of like, I don't want to say the movie, but like Stepford Wives-ish, or there's another one that just came out that's very similar. And so she's sort of locked in to her mind, almost like the movie Avatar. I've never seen Avatar, I just sort of know about it. So you know how like the hero of Avatar is like, I think he's like a paraplegic or something, and he, like, his mind is in this machine and he's in the land or something like that. I don't know how Avatar ends. I might watch it eventually, but it's sort of like that thing where she's like in a coma sort of thing, but her mind is awake and she's in Wonderland. And so I didn't really enjoy that. I would have rather had like a dirty adult version of Alice in Wonderland rather than the sci-fi stuff, which was really creepy and had some definite trigger warnings for like assault, which I wasn't a fan of. So Escaping Wonderland by Tiffany Roberts, I'm not sure which way it is, I did not enjoy. So we're going to go into the 2nd and 1st spot for the worst books that I've read in 2022. Number two is probably going to be controversial because a lot of people loved it and it was a book that was progressive, but to me, it wasn't necessarily progressive. It was pondering. And that was The Lady Gets Lucky by Alexis Hall. This was a 2-star. It was really unenjoyable for me. It was a really, really bad slow burn. It had a lot of potential. The heroine is a trans woman in Regency England, so it should have been really, really cool. It should have been really progressive and modern, but the book wasn't that. It was like a slow burn, and I honestly remember it felt like the heroine was being treated as a cis female and not telling a trans narrative story, if that makes sense. And that's what really bothered me. It was like, I remember someone in the comments was like, the whole point isn't that she's trans or whatever. And I was like, I understand that. Like, you don't have to make it the whole the whole arc of the storyline. But I would have liked it to have been a trans woman in Regency England rather than basically a cis woman that they've called trans. And that's really how it felt. Because I have studied gay and lesbian literature. At my college, there was a trans literature course that I was going to take, but my basket was filled up with other stuff. But, there's been transgendered people for a long, long, long time. I mean, Egyptian, there's been trans, there's been non-binary, etc. So it's nothing new. And I felt like Alexis Hall treated the book not in a demeaning way. A lot of people just love this book. But I just really wanted a trans woman in Regency England and what that would have been like. And to me, it was like having just a woman that was quirky. She had her quirks. It was, her genitalia, essentially. And I wanted a trans narrative story set in Regency England, which I thought was going to be promised, but it wasn't. Like, I was super hyped for this book. I was like, oh, this will be like a 5 or 6 star read. Maybe they'll get Tommy Dorfman to star in the film on Netflix or something like that. They'll probably have like Megan Fox or something because it was just so, it was so flazé-da or whatever. So that one was just really disappointing because I really thought it could have been a lot more, and it wasn't. That's all I'll go. And so number one, which, this book, oh my gosh, it was 800 pages of annoyance. This was a book that I saw recommended a lot on TikTok by a TikToker / smut talker that I really did enjoy. She is probably at this point controversial. I had to block her because she started attacking a lot of people and not for any reason. It was more so I think she was attacking people because they were expressing an opinion that was different than hers, and so she was blasting them and calling them stuff. And if you were on TikTok and this was in spring, like March, April, you probably remember all that drama that went on TikTok. There's a lot of my friends that had to block her as well, or they left TikTok altogether. I never had an altercation with her, but I was just so distraught with her actions. And I'm not going to name the person because who cares? I don't even know. I honestly probably don't even remember her name. But she recommended a book called Darling Venom by Hunter. I have the notes. I'm sorry. Hunter S. Parker S. Huntington. Oh my gosh, she hyped it up so much, and thank the Lord I did not buy the physical copy. The physical copy was $18. I bought it for my Kindle, and it was $3.99, and that was $3.99 too much. Darling Venom is a very dark story. It's not really a romance, in my opinion. Trigger warnings for suicide, family trauma, scarring, nearly dying in a fire, depression, anxiety, all the triggers. It has so many triggers. I think I had like 10 triggers listed. And the story doesn't negate the amount of triggers. So this book, I remember it had what they were calling an oopsgasm because the hero in the story, which it's not really romance in my opinion, the hero in the story is a gynecologist, so it had some like a little bit of gynecologist kink, and that was like the major spice of the book, and that was at 150. And they weren't a couple. She was just like trying to get information or something from him, and she goes in for an exam and has a little whoopsie doodle on the table, and that was fun. Something different. I thought, oh, this is going to be like what I hoped the doctor was going to be with Nikki Sloan, which, yeah, that wasn't my favorite either. But Darling Venom, oh my gosh, I hated this book. The things that I don't like in romances, I don't like really, 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 really long slow burns. My contacts are really blurry. I'm sorry. I don't like low spice without a lot of tension. So I don't mind having sexual tension as long as there's if there's not a lot of spice, but there's a lot of tension and you want them together and it's like, will they kiss, are they turned on by each other? I like that. Is there a lack of character? I found a lack of character development with A Whisper of Roses and Ransom, and just annoying characters and weird plot or annoying plot. And so Darling Venom was one of those. I didn't really vibe with any of the characters. I didn't care. I didn't care about them. And it was 800 pages of not even a slow burn because it wasn't really a romance. I think they got together in the end. Yeah, it just wasn't for me. So yeah, Darling Venom takes the spot for the worst book I read in 2022. And I'm glad I didn't DNF it because it gave me something to talk about with friends and something to be like, don't read this book, I didn't like it, But if you liked it, I'm really happy you did because I didn't have a good time. So if you've read Darling Venom and had a good time, let me know in the comments below. Put a spider emoji if you liked it, because yeah, I kind of wanted it to be venomous and dark, and it was just toxic and slow and boring. Well, everyone, I hope you've had a wonderful day. Tomorrow's video will be my favorite books of 2022. I want to end on a happy note. Let me know in the comments below, what was your worst read of 2022? So let's not make it a DNF. What is a book that you completed this year and you hated? Or it was, oh, it was bad. Let me know in the comments, because I love to know, so I know what to avoid for next year. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye, everyone.